My next guest is going to be back in action against Phil Rowe, UFC on ABC5, June 24th. It's Neil Magny back here on the program. Neil, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you been?
Doing awesome. Good to see you back. Was this the right amount of time off, or are you hoping to get in there a little bit sooner?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good time off. I mean, there's a lot of things I have to juggle in my personal life and kind of get used to my new norm, so to speak. So I feel like this is a perfect amount of time off. I was able to kind of get things settled outside of fighting, outside of the cage, and just kind of give myself in a good mental space to go into a training camp and really like focus on performing at my best rather than like going to a training camp where I had all these moving pieces where I was trying to figure out where things may settle. So I feel like this is perfect timing.
And obviously, one thing people can't say about you is that you're fighting easy opponents. You're only fighting the best. I know that last fight against Gilbert Burns, not the result you wanted, but what did you learn the most from that fight that you're bringing into this one?
The biggest thing is that mental approach. I mean, I have a tendency of putting a lot more on myself than I need to going into these big fights, and just kind of getting comfortable with it, getting familiar with it, realizing this is another day in the office kind of thing, and not putting all that mental pressure on myself going into it. There are things that are gonna come up in my personal life that I have to deal with every single time, but to add extra mental stress to the equation just isn't necessary for me. So figuring out that balance where I can kind of compartmentalize things and focus on the task at hand, I think was the biggest lesson to take away from that Gilbert Burns fight in training camp.
Without getting into too much detail, is it just, the fact that you're a dad? I know you have some businesses going on. Is that sort of what you mean as far as outside things maybe creeping into the fight camp and all that?
Yeah, I mean, when you do this for so long, there are going to be things that are going to come up. I mean, when I first started competing in MMA and UFC, I just had myself and my dog to worry about. Now I have two kids to worry about. Now I have several properties to worry about. And I have business to worry about. There's a lot more that comes into play rather than just like going to the gym, spending 6, 7, 8 hours at the gym, coming home, having all day to rest, and worry about yourself and your dog. So for me right now, like the biggest thing is just kind of learning how to place things in boxes and pick them up as need be. Like the biggest priority for me right now is being the best parent to my children and making the best out of my career. And everything else kind of takes the back seat. So it's just kind of a interesting realization for me to come to, but like it's just one of those things I have to realize that like there's no way I can be every single place at once and do everything best of my ability. So I kind of need to focus on a few things and do those to the best of my ability. That way they don't kind of suffer or get a lesser version of myself. And I feel like that's where I'm at mentally now. Like I can actually give myself 100% to my family, 100% to my career, and everything else kind of takes the back seat. If I acquire another property throughout the year, great. If not, doesn't make a difference to me. My career is still progressing. My family's still getting the best of me.
Yeah, and the fact that you own property, man, you're ahead of most people. I mean, that's such a good business move because you're always getting income coming in, which is great. So that's good to hear. So you get the fight with Phil Rowe, and I know you've had sort of like a full camp for this one. What did you make of Garry calling you out? Do fighters not look on Tapology? Like I was a bit surprised by that. Why wouldn't you call out a fighter that doesn't have a fight book? Like clearly you were fighting Phil at the time he did that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
That's what I was saying. Like fighters got to look at Tapology and kind of see who's booked. If you're going to do a call out, you should probably check that, right? So
yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, I would think that would be one of the first things you look at, like, all right, who's available, who's ready, and that kind of thing. But historically, I can't put myself in that position to be ready at all times, kind of thing. So if I had a fight booked, I'm sure, and based off history, I'd be ready to go pretty soon anyway. So like I said, ideally, you would definitely want to pick someone who's not already booked for a fight, but who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm happy with it.
Do you think they're talking about him being this future champion and all this stuff. He definitely had a good win over Daniel Rodriguez. You can't take that away. Do you think he sort of lives up to the hype, or do you think he's being a little bit maybe inflated a bit? What's your opinion of Garry as a fighter?
These are the things that are yet to be determined. And I think that what's important about these fights. I mean, if you're fighting guys that are that you kind of breeze through or wherever else it may be, then it's like, yeah, sure, you have all potential in the world. But you go out there and you face some killers or face some guys that have some experience. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not as hot as I may have thought I was. Let me go ahead and reel this thing back a little bit and kind of get my priorities in order. So is he the next champ? I don't know. That's yet to be determined. Could I potentially face him in the future and answer that question? Absolutely. But all in all, right now, like the biggest focus on Phil Rowe. The guy's currently undefeated in UFC, 3 finishes or whatever. So that's definitely my biggest focus at the moment.
How familiar were you with Phil before taking this fight?
We trained a few times together here and there. I followed his career over the last couple of years, and I'm a fan of Phil Rowe. I mean, I'm very happy with what he's done in the sports thus far. I know how much of a great competitor he is. I know what he brings to the table, skill set wise, and that kind of thing. So it's a good matchup. It's definitely one of those fights to go out there and really test me. And then the other part about it is it's very rare that I find a guy with the same reach and or longer reach than I have. So that gives me an even tougher puzzle to solve, so to speak. So I don't know. I think it's a good matchup, and I'm excited for it. Like, he's definitely a great competitor, and I feel like this fight's bringing out the best in me.
When did you guys train together?
So UFC Denver, we got an opportunity to train together a couple years ago, and I took a trip out to Florida a couple years ago and trained from there as well.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. What about training camp now? Who've been some of the main guys? I know it's probably the usual cast of characters, but who've mainly been helping you get ready for this one?
Yeah, so really have to lean heavy on one of my trip partners, Ryan. I'm going to completely draw a blank on his last name right now, but he's been a huge help for me for this training camp. I mean, it's I said, fighting another guy with 80+ inch reach or whatever is very rare in my division. So being able to scout another welterweight with that kind of reach is huge. So for me, that was one of the biggest key points, be able to find someone that's going to actually be able to show those threats, show those weapons from a long range for me to get familiar with. So I've been relying heavily on Ryan for this fight to really kind of show me that distance that I have to worry about going to fight with Phil Rowe.
Yeah, and so Ryan, and then who else? Are you getting to work with Gaethje at all? I know he sort of comes and goes. He's got his fight against Poirier. I know Drew Dober just fought, so probably not in the gym. Any other guys you're getting to work with?
I mean, like, when it comes to grappling, whatever, these guys are all able to push me in that dynamic, whatever. But one of the biggest things I need to focus on is that range difference or whatever. So I'm like having to rely on some of the bigger, like 85ers, 205ers even, to get those straight partners that 6'2", 6'3" range that are going to give me that 80-inch reach or whatever for me to like get comfortable with. So I've been relying a lot more on the taller, longer guys this training camp, just because like those are very specific body type with a very specific skill set. So I kind of need to see as much variety with that range as possible, where some of these other training partners that I've had in the past, like the Gaethjes and Drew Dober and that kind of thing, just because of the range, it's a far different fight. Like I won't go into a fight game plan wise and spar Gaethje the way I should fight Phil Rowe kind of thing. So just because of the specific length advantage that he poses in this fight, I definitely have to like really dial in and make sure I was very particular about my training partners for this fight.
And no cross training this camp, I'm assuming. I know in the past you've gone to Philly and trained with Sean Brady. Is it just all been at home base this time around?
Yeah, for this fight in particular, definitely a lot of more home base training. I mean, like I said, again, a lot of things settled in my personal life, being able to kind of pick up and move and go across country and spend some time outside of Colorado, or whatever. We're just added another level of difficulty at this particular moment. So, fortunately for this opponent, I was able to kind of get the training partners I need here in Colorado to get the work that I need or whatever. So, fortunately for this particular camp, I can spend pretty much all of my time in Colorado getting ready for this fight.
It's great. What about your corner? Who's going to be in the cage with you on June 24th?
So for the corners for this fight, I'm going to, of course, go with Christian Allen. Like, that's definitely a must-have. Switching up a little bit in the jiu-jitsu department, having Jared McCluskey come out in the corner for a jiu-jitsu coach. And then, of course, old reliable Boyan will be there as a training partner and then a helping hand in the corner as well. So I feel like the solid corner crew, we're going to go out to get the job done. So I'm more than confident to have those guys in my corner.
How's this fight playing out on June 24th?
Man, this fight plays out great for me. Like, I'm gonna go out there and really kind of showcase the striking. I feel like that's the side of me that a lot of people haven't seen in a while. Like, I've been really grappling heavy in the past and that kind of thing. So I feel like this is one of those fights I can really kind of lean heavy on my striking and show the improvements I made there.
I know everyone's talking about it right now. Got to ask you because it's at the top of your division. What do you make of Colby Covington getting this title shot potentially over Leon? I mean, Dana said he's getting it, but we haven't had the fight book. Let's assume it does happen. What do you make of that?
At the end of the day, I think it makes sense. I mean, a lot of people were like, well, he doesn't deserve to sat out here. He did this, he did that. At the end of the day, you gotta look at the division for what it is and understand that at the end of the day, it's a business practice. Like, you know what I mean? Right now at the welterweight division, what fight's gonna make the most ticket sales and sell the most pay-per-views? And I personally think that it might be Leon Edwards versus Cody Covington. Hell, if Jorge Masvidal gets to win. I see him fighting for the title, even if he's ranked number 15. You know what I mean? Just based off of the pure entertainment value and the potentials for those fights to kind of do numbers and pay-per-view sales kind of thing. I can see it kind of playing out pretty well for both guys. So I'm not necessarily mad at all. I just have to understand the business for what it is and how things are shifting in current standing of MMA and UFC in particular, where it's not necessarily the number one guy versus number two guy. Sometimes it may actually be the salesman versus the guy that needs some sales. So that's exactly how I see this fight playing out.
Yeah, no, I get it for sure. Do you think Colby beats Leon, or do you think Leon has his number in that one?
I think Colby might be able to edge this one out. I mean, one of the things that Colby is not afraid to do, he's not afraid to go out there and fight his particular fight. If he goes out there and he's real grappling heavy and he gets booed for 25 minutes, Colby's the kind of guy that doesn't let that kind of pressure affect him. He's not going to feel like, oh, I have to break off a strike now. He will literally go out there and do whatever it takes to win for 25 minutes, whether it's the most exciting fight or one of the most boring fights you've seen in your life. He's the guy to go out there and get the job done, regardless of what outside influences may do for him, kind of thing. So I personally think stylistically, that's a fight that favors Colby Covington.
And another name I'm going to throw out here, because I don't really hear much people talking about him as far as title implications. A guy you fought, Shakvat Rakhmonov. Are you a little bit surprised that people aren't bringing him up, maybe for fighting for a title here soon? Because he's a guy that's got to be right there with some of the performances that he's had.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the guys that's definitely at the top right now and could be fighting for a title within a fight or two, 100%. The hard part is it's like trying to figure out that next opponent to make it happen, kind of thing. I think it's just a weird situation. Like, Bilal just had a very dominant win over Gilbert Burns, so an argument could be made for Bilal to fight for the title if Colby Covington doesn't get it. But I think in Shakvat's case, he had two really big wins recently, and I feel like he may need that one more fight kind of thing to kind of make it like, all right, cool, this guy's the next guy to go fight for a title. I personally think a fight between him and Bilal Muhammad could be like a title eliminator type fight, and whenever that gets the next shot kind of thing. But who knows? I'm just
for sure. No, I get it. I actually think him and Usman would be interesting. I know you train with Usman, and I know he's talking about Chimaev, but I mean, does Chimaev make 170 again? I think Shavkat's right there. Maybe that would be a fight, but we'll see what the UFC does. We're not matchmakers, obviously, so we're just sort of talking out loud here.
Is a fight that can actually make a case for him to fight for a title next. I mean, whether it's an Usman fight, whether it's a Bilal fight, I think any of those fights is a great match for him to go out there and really say all right, I'm next for the title or whatever. And I see it happening for sure.
How many more fights do you have in your contract? I think I ask you this every interview, but I'm always curious, what the status is, all that stuff. So where are you at right now, contract wise?
Oh, brand new contract. We're back in business.
Oh, good stuff, man. That's awesome. How many fights? I know I've been seeing some fighters get 6 or 7 fights. Is it just 4 for you, or how many?
Yep. Recently just re-up for another 4-fight contract.
So, good for you, man.
Yeah, we're going to make some strides here, get some things done with the next year and a half here.
That's good, man. Do you ever look back? I mean, I think people forget you've had a really interesting career. Remember, you had the little bit of a slow start, and then you went on that huge winning streak, and you've got to be one of the fighters on the roster that's been in the UFC the longest. I think at least top 10, right? Do you kind of look back on that? Because a lot of fighters don't even live to see their second or third contract.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be something I'm definitely grateful, and I definitely appreciate being able to endure all I have over the years with the UFC. Like I said, staying in the UFC is one tough task in itself. Staying in the top 10, top 15 UFC for as long as I have is even harder. So I definitely appreciate that and seeing how far I've come thus far in the sport. And it's every time I sit back and reflect, I'm like, damn, I'm still here, and there's still work to be done. Let's go. So I definitely do reflect on it from time to time, and I definitely appreciate it all.
And are you still do you work directly with the UFC? Because I remember for a while there, you didn't have a manager. Are you still kind of doing things on your own?
Yeah, still direct to the UFC.
Good for you.
Yeah, this one of those things that makes it pretty tough. Where it's I just have such a good relationship with the UFC that to throw a middleman in the mix, it just kind of makes it a little more difficult. Like for me, my performances is what's going to change the trajectory of my career. That's the base I need to focus on. There's not anything a manager can do, so to speak, to kind of really take my career to the next level. It really boils down to I need to go out there, I need to perform, I need to get the wins, and my career progresses from there. So for me, I'm very fortunately in a position that my performances is what's going to determine or dictate what happens next in my career.
Well, and I'm sure, do you think it helps too that like you run your own business? Like I would assume for some fighters, maybe they're not as savvy with their career and that's why they need a manager. Do you feel like your business background, running the real estate and all that sort of helped things?
Helps a little bit, like with the logistics, getting all the moving pieces in order and get things lined up. Definitely helps a bit. I know some people have a hard time with that, where it's like, oh my God, I got scared for medicals. I don't know where to go. Where it's like, at this point, I'm doing medicals for the UFC in particular for over 10 years. So I already have the list of doctors to run through. It's like, all right, eye exam, go to this guy. The same guy did my eye exam
Yeah.
twice a year for the last 10 years. I need a physical, same physical I get 4 times a year, the same doctor for the last 10 years. So like everything that I need to get done with the UFC right now is pretty much it's like a routine almost. I have the same accountant, I have the same doctors, I have the same everything I need to run down a list and get done when it comes to prepping myself for the logistical side of my MMA career.
Yeah, and you're still making time for interviews, Neil. I really appreciate it, man. If there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media you want to mention, I'll give you the last word.
As always, just make sure you guys check out mission111.org. They do some great work in Haiti and the Philippines, and with the recent crisis in Haiti, they need more support than ever. So if you guys can, please check out mission111.org. They have a Facebook page, Instagram page. We also have a website where you guys can check out all the work that they do throughout the world.